I need a dropper post that goes higher. 125 millimeters is just not enough anymore. So I picked up a Rockshox Reverb C1 dropper post with 175 millimeters travel for only $70. The only problem is that it has the dreaded reverb sag. So let's fix it. I usually try to avoid buying specialty tools for rebuilds because they add up over time. It seems like they just get used once and then just clutter up your shop. To clamp this dropper in the vise, I used some soft vise clamps off Amazon, but I struggled to get this very first lock ring off because I couldn't get enough grip to prevent the dropper post from spinning in the vise, even with the vise very tight. So I had to overnight these cone wrenches and come back the next day. And even with the proper tools, these lock rings can be extremely difficult to get off and pretty stressful. I even had a couple slips of the wrench and gummed up some of the parts. And I also ran to the store to get a very large crescent wrench, but I wouldn't call these specialty tools because I'll use them in future builds. I did have to buy a Rockshox Reverb bleed kit and obviously the 200-hour service kit. I've never rebuilt a reverb dropper before and they have a pretty bad reputation. This 2020 C1 Reverb is the newest model and is said to have features to avoid the dreaded reverb sag. Because of the new model, there are currently no rebuild videos on YouTube. So I'm in uncharted water here, folks. But I have a few tricks up my sleeve. This isn't necessarily a how-to video because, well, it's my first time working on this dropper. Think of it as a motivational and inspirational video if you are in a similar situation. But I will link to the step-by-step Rockshox service manual in the description. Another essential tool is the snap ring plier. It comes with 4 interchangeable heads and beats the hell out of risking a scratch on the inner shaft, rendering it useless. I also picked up a pair of polycarbonate O-ring picks on Amazon for $8, so I don't have to worry about gouging any surfaces, which I've done in the past. This Rockshox Reverb C1 200-hour rebuild kit was very hard to find, and I waited for a few weeks. Luckily, I stumbled across an online bike shop called Universal Cycles. They not only had this kit in stock, they have tons of things in stock pretty much all the time with really fast shipping. This rebuild kit was $43. I wasn't able to get my hands on Rockshox dynamic seal grease in time for this video, so I'm hoping that this slick oleum works. I guess it's different from the Rockshox grease because the Rockshox has an additive called PTFE, known as Teflon. You're supposed to put the lower post just over this collar here, and that is definitely easier said than done. It keeps going way past, and then when I try to lift it up a bit, the whole lower post just comes off again. Then the 3 brass keys go in their channels, and the lower post has some slots that go over the keys, and lining them up can be pretty difficult too. Oh wow, when I depressurize this air chamber, there's this fluid shooting out. And to me, that's a very bad sign. I have no clue what this fluid is. It's yellow, which is different from the red reverb oil that comes in the kit. And I tipped it over to drain more of this strange fluid and a bunch of sandy grime came out. This is a terrible sign. If this 200-hour rebuild doesn't work, then I have completely wasted my money and have to buy a 600-hour rebuild kit. And I don't even know if that's worth the hassle. But I still have one final Hail Mary to save this rebuild if I need to. Most of the torque specifications are nearly impossible to achieve. Hopefully the use of Loctite helps counter any issues. 8 Newton meters might not seem like that much, but when you're torquing against a skinny cone wrench, it's really hard to hold and there's a major risk to strip something out. So I did my best and tightened down things the best that I could. It might seem weird to use a crescent or an adjustable wrench on a rebuild, but the service manual says that you can. Obviously, combination wrenches have more points of contacts on bolts to avoid stripping, But it was strange though. On the collars and lock rings, it'd call for say a 15mm wrench, but then the 15mm wrench would have some play on the part and it wasn't perfectly 15mm. So the correct sized wrench felt like it could strip out at any moment. So with a crescent wrench, I could actually get a tighter grip. With the hydraulic line on, it's time to bleed it. The Reverb bleed kit that I bought off Amazon does not fit the 1x Reverb remote. Luckily, I had an IFP air valve that screwed into the remote body. I just slid the rubber bleed tubing over it, which took a lot of elbow grease. I've used a cable actuated internal spring dropper, an air sprung dropper, and now this hydraulic actuated dropper with an air spring. I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty excited to use this dropper if it works correctly. With everything fully assembled and bled, it's finally time to see if this dropper works like it should. I hope we fix the problem. Well, the good news is that there is no more sag. The bad news, the dropper does not fully go up all the way when the remote is pressed, most of the time. These new C1 droppers come with a vent valve tool to get the damper fluid out of the air chamber, but after a few attempts, the vent valve procedure did not fix the problem. This tells me that there is a much bigger problem at hand here, probably air in the oil chamber, meaning I need to do a 600-hour service instead. I still want to see how this dropper works, and I think it works good enough to take it out on the trail. With a nice firm press of the dropper remote, the seat post will go up all the way and avoid the mid-travel stopping point. So for now, I'll run it. I'm actually pretty impressed with the hydraulic actuated dropper post. It feels great. I just wish I could have completely fixed this dropper. But come to find out, I can't even come close to slamming the seat post in the frame. The lower dropper body is just too long and it comes in contact with the linkage bolt. When the dropper post is in its highest position, I can't comfortably reach the pedals. So let me know in the comments if it's worth spending $80 for a 600-hour rebuild kit, or should I just wave the white flag on this dropper and sell it to somebody willing to do the work? I do have another bike in the works that should be here in a few weeks, and maybe I'll save this dropper for that bike if it fits. As always, links for tools and products seen in this video will be in the video description. Thanks for watching, I'll see you on the next one.